Setting up Intel AMT profiles in Intel EMA web interface. Welcome everyone! In this tutorial, we'll guide you through the process of setting up Intel AMT profiles within the Intel EMA web interface. These profiles are essential for managing Intel vPro PCs remotely. Let's dive right in. Step 1. Accessing Intel EMA home screen. Begin by accessing the Intel EMA web interface as home screen. We'll start the process by navigating to the home screen of your Intel EMA web interface. Step 2. Navigating to endpoint groups. On the left sidebar, find and click on the endpoint groups icon. Step 3. Endpoint group screen. Within the endpoint groups screen, the endpoint group with name default endpoint group is listed. Remember, this default endpoint group is automatically generated during tenant setup. Step 4. Intel AMT profile setup. On the top of the screen, click on Intel AMT profiles. The Intel AMT profile with name default AMT profile is listed. Remember, this default AMT profile is automatically generated during tenant setup. By clicking View, you will see the details of the default AMT profile. Click on Cancel to return to the screen with the Intel AMT profiles. Step 5. Creating a new Intel AMT profile. Click on New Intel AMT profile. You need to provide details for the various sections on the left side. Step 6. Configuring general settings. In the General tab of the new AMT profile, enter a distinctive profile name. Add a profile description. Choose the communication method between the Intel EMA server and endpoints. We suggest always use Intel AMT Sierra. If proxy settings are required, you can discuss them with map services. Step 7. Setting power states. Click on Power States. Choose the default and recommended choice anytime the system is connected to power. Step 8. Selecting management interfaces. Click on Management Interfaces. Choose the Intel AMT functionalities you wish to use. KVM redirection allows to take remotely full control of the PC, independently of the state of the OS. User consent presents the user in front of the remote endpoint with a consent code of 6 digits to allow remote management interaction with the endpoint. Configure user consent settings. For the default provisioning mode, client control mode, user consent is enforced regardless of options selected here. Set the timeout for entering the 6-digit user consent code. Adjust as needed. Enable remote management through an AMT web browser interface. Serial over LAN enables remote BIOS setting changes in text mode. Use the ID/USB redirection for mapping drives remotely. If available, enable remote recovery and platform erase features. Configuring platform and Wi-Fi settings. Configure hostname, domain name, and IP address settings. Decide on Wi-Fi connection preferences and profiles. FQDN settings. Click on FQDN source. This defines how the hostname and domain name will be set in Intel AMT. The recommended setting is shared with host OS. This means the AMT hostname will be the same as the OS hostname, and the domain name will remain blank. Click on IP address. This setting determines how Intel AMT will obtain the IP address of the endpoint. Select from the DHCP server when the endpoint is assigned an IP address automatically from DHCP. This is the recommended configuration as it simplifies IP address management. If the endpoint has a statically assigned IP address, choose Use a static IP address from host. Click on Wi-Fi. To synchronize Wi-Fi profiles between OS and Intel AMT, select Synchronize with host platform Wi-Fi profiles. When an endpoint connects to a Wi-Fi profile at OS level, the profile will be automatically synced to Intel AMT, so that Intel AMT can make use of that Wi-Fi profile. Select Enable Wi-Fi connection in all system power states. It allows to use Intel AMT over Wi-Fi also when the endpoint is not up and running. It is recommended. Enable Wi-Fi profile sharing with UEFI BIOS. Recommended, but it will be only useful for AMT functionalities as one-click recovery. Step 10. Saving and conclusion. After adjusting all the settings, click Save to apply the changes. You'll be taken back to the Intel AMT Profiles screen, where your newly created profile will be listed. Congratulations! You've successfully set up your Intel AMT profile using the Intel EMA web interface. These profiles are vital for the remote management of Intel vPro PCs. Stay tuned for more videos about how to maximize Intel EMA's capabilities. Thank you for joining us.